Okay, so I'm going to admit people in our session. All right, so we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new EduGo's webinar. So as always, if you have attended our previous webinar, or it's the first time that you attend one of our webinars, I would like to ask you to keep your to mute your microphone so that we don't say disturb the flow of the webinar. And if you obviously have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, or and then we will answer them at the end of the session during the Q&A part. So as I mentioned, this is a new webinar, how to turn social media followers into paying customers for your language business. And today I have also a guest. So, but let's first start with my introduction. So I'm gonna share also a quick slide here. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay. So my name is Giorgio Morochica. I am the head of brand awareness at EduGo AI, and I'm going to be your webinar host. And my co-host today is Ola Kowalska. I was trying to
well done. Hi everyone, lovely being here. Thank you.
A business coach and mentor for language teachers. And the agenda that we are going to cover today in this webinar is the following. We're going to start with this the four following bullet points. Number one, how to position your profile as a business rather than a free educational page. Then number two, how to nurture potential students so they become more likely to pay for your services, and how to use and not to do effective content creation. And we will talk about the case study of to create and market your language business with EduGo. And I am going to give the floor to Ola. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Ola, if you want to start with introduction and then dive into the slides, that would be great. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. I can't see any faces, but I'm trusting that you're smiling at me. I am definitely smiling at you. Lovely being here. Thank you, Georgia, for inviting me. It's a great pleasure. And I just have to say, I'm really excited to talk to you about this topic of turning social media followers into paying students. It's something that I've been doing and helping teachers with for 1.5 years now, quite successfully. So I hope that you're going to learn something new. If you do, please do let me know, get in touch, because I love hearing success stories. So let me just share my screen quickly. And
well, in the meantime, you shared the screen. I prepared the poll. I forgot to that I want to share with the people that have joined our webinar. And we'll talk about the poll, but in the meantime, if you guys please vote on this poll. So it's a question that I prepared and we're going to discuss at the end during the Q&A session. Back to you.
Wonderful, no problem. So guys, click on the link in the chat and here we are. I'm going to start my part of this talk. So how to turn social media followers into paying students. And before I even start talking about this, I wanted to give you a reason why you should be listening to me if you're wondering why, because you might not know me. So my name is Ola, and I'm a business coach for language teachers and a mentor as well. I live in the UK. I'm originally from Poland, and my background is quite extensive. I've been working and doing lots of different roles in the field of English language teaching for nearly 15 years now. I've been a teacher, a teacher trainer. I'm also a CELTA trainer. If there are any English teachers here, I'm pretty sure you probably know what that is. I also used to be a manager in a school in central London. I used to run my own language school online. And since 2021, I've been coaching teachers and mentoring them, helping them either build businesses from scratch or improve the existing ones. I cover lots of areas in the business world, but I make it relevant to teachers. So what I always say is that I do not make up things that I teach. I just make them accessible and relevant to teachers. I mainly work with language teachers. It started as working with English teachers only because that was my kind of area of expertise. I knew that I could help them because that's something that I did myself. I built my online school quite successfully. But then it kind of expanded to teachers of other languages as well. People who come to me are at different stages of their business journeys. Some of them are complete beginners, but I would say that the majority of people who come to me are already quite established freelancers who want to scale their businesses, who want to start taking serious action in their business, who want to build different products, different offers, digital courses, or just scale so that they can make more rather than just being on a hamster wheel of one-to-one teaching. So that's who I help. And how I help through a variety of digital courses that are on offer on my website. You can check that out. And coaching. I run 2 coaching programs. One of them is one-to-one, one is a group program. And yeah, so there is a variety of things we can achieve together if anybody is interested. I will also mention that at the end, but the best way to get in touch with me is unfortunately not LinkedIn. I've tried many times, but me and LinkedIn, we're not meant to be. So I'm on Instagram, and I love being there. I'm present on Instagram stories every day at Ola Coaches Teacher. So if you want to ever come say and hi, please do. I love having conversations in direct messages. Alrighty, so let's start the meaty bit of this meeting, how to turn social media followers into paying students. The reason why I've even come up with this topic is because I see too many teachers, too many language teachers who basically are on social media and create social media content. And especially, I'm going to say it's not exclusive to Instagram, but it's something that I most see on Instagram. They create content for the sake of creating content. They don't kind of assume that it should lead somewhere. They think that by creating content, they will have more clients, as if there was some sort of a shortcut or like a direct way from going from posting a bit of content and then having paying students. It doesn't work like this. It also is because very often what I notice is that teachers have lots of like mindset blocks, I would say, around that. They are sometimes either afraid of being more visible, or they think that the only value that they can provide is educational value. And while the services that they provide or sell, whether they are classes, teaching, courses, digital products, they provide educational value, it doesn't mean that their presence online has to be basically presenting that same educational value for free. It doesn't have to be like that. And that's very often the cause of burnout on social media. So these are the reasons. And I'm going to cover 4 things today: the mindset, the positioning, the content, and some do's and don'ts of what to do and not to do with your content marketing. So starting with mindset, I will encourage you to think about your own relationship with social media. I observe it daily in me and in people that I work with, as well as just teachers that. So basically my own market research is based on the fact that I only follow teachers I once decided that I'm not going to follow anybody who is not relevant to my business, so that I can actually learn about what makes people tick and what people struggle with. And the biggest problem that I see is that teachers, they spend too much time focusing on social media content because they spend too much time on social media, period. So they say, I mean, I think it's a generational, I think it's a problem in the whole society. We became addicted to social media, and it's actually hurting our businesses. So we think that we're going to follow people just to get inspired. What actually happens is that we get triggered and we feel imposter syndrome, and we feel that, oh my God, this person has 100,000 followers. I will never get there. Or this person is doing this. Should I copy them, or should I do something like them? But I'm not good at what they're doing. So there is constant comparisonitis and constant feeling of being behind. So what I encourage you to do, if you're one of those people a little bit overwhelmed by social media, but you know that it could be helping you and your business growth, is to assess your own relationship with social media, because it has to work for you. So in my case, it's literally unfollowing everything that triggers me. It is also doing things that feel good. So for example, I always like to be open about these things. I'm neurodiverse. I've got ADHD, and it means that for me, being very rigid with planning is never going to work. So I basically post when I want to, when I feel like it, and when I've got something to say, with some more or less of a plan of what I'm promoting. So I would post things when it makes sense to post, rather than posting for the sake of posting. So these are my ways, but what are your ways of keeping a healthy and sustainable relationship with social media is completely up to you. The next thing is your beliefs. So if you approach social media from the perspective of, okay, so everybody is using social media, so I probably should too, or thinking that everybody is on Instagram and I should probably be there too. Then if you're on Instagram, then you probably think, oh, I should create Instagram reels. Then I think maybe not for everybody, but it can cause problems, because the strategy, whatever strategy you use, is only going to work if it's a strategy that is sustainable for you. A lot of people come to me and ask, but how do I create videos and like reels that are engaging? And then the first question I would always ask is, do you want to create Instagram reels? Do you feel like doing that? Because if they say no, I'm like, what would you prefer doing? And then they tell me, I'd prefer to write. I'm like, why don't you write something then? Why don't you try LinkedIn, where you can actually be creative with your writing, and that kind of post, those kind of posts are much more effective. So assess your beliefs around social media. Another very common belief is around the numbers of followers. So it's such a stupid myth, and I'm hoping that honestly more and more people start seeing it, but it's still very hard for many, that a number of followers doesn't mean success. It's not like correlated to success. I personally, in my business, was making sales with 200 followers on Instagram, 200. So there are still too many people who think that they need to grow their audience of followers, very often very random followers, unfortunately, up to thousands in order to be able to sell them something, whether it is lessons or digital products. It's actually extremely risky, because if your belief is that, okay, I need to grow my audience first, then what you're going to do is you're going to focus on creating content that will grow that audience, but you're not going to focus on selling them things. So what those people are going to get used to is free stuff, which is always very risky and not exactly effective as a business strategy. And another thing is assessing your goals. So your goals should be totally and as much as possible correlated with your social media goals, with your business goals. For me, they are usually financial goals or something like, I also like to talk about like freedom goals, but for me, freedom is also very much connected with money. So I don't like thinking about building or I also don't like to make promises to teachers that I will help them to make more money, because I personally am not that kind of person and I'm not money driven. However, money helps you achieve other things. So for example, if you want to have a life where you, let's say, work with paying clients, paying students only 3 days a week, and you don't want to have any contact hours with them, let's say on 2 days a week, then you need to figure out how much you have to make on those 3 days so that you don't have to meet them on let's say Mondays and Fridays. I'm using this example because that's my example at the moment. So I don't meet anybody on Mondays and Fridays. I've stopped selling my time for money. And this is showing me, okay, so how much money do I need to generate in the rest of that time? The other thing is that your social media cannot just be a hobby. Everything you post has to have an intention of eventually selling something, because otherwise you just have an expensive hobby. So that's the mindset bit. Then there is positioning. So many teachers, again, start their social media journey as I think it starts with, like, people start their businesses and their social media presence for many reasons. Like, some of them want to quit working for online platforms or language schools, or they want to transition, or they just want to try something on the side. And I think all those motivations are absolutely valid and perfect. I'm not like kind of criticizing that. But again, the starting point should be, I want to make money for myself, right? I want to sell things to people, whatever those things are. I always say that the heart of your business, or in my case, but that's like something that I came up with in my business, the rocket of your business is your offers. So what you sell, whether it is your one-to-one teaching, your packages, your digital courses, it is the core of your business. If it's not, then your content is going to be pointless, absolutely pointless. So in order to position yourself as a business, you need to know who you help. So with your offers, with your courses, with your teaching, who is that specific person? So I'm basically talking about something like a niche, right? Whether it is specific people that need the language or the thing that you teach. I wonder if there are any teachers of like non-language teachers. Let me know in the chat. I would love to find out. Or are all of you language teachers? But there will always be people who need your help for a specific reason. So that's going to be who you help. And it needs to be clear on your social media platforms, whether you say it in your bio on your LinkedIn or your Instagram or your like introductory post. I help people with this specific problem, solve it with my courses, coaching, lessons, whatever else you come up with there. The next thing is how you help. So again, you need to be super clear on what those things that you offer are. In my personal approach to business, but there are different approaches. There are lots of different approaches, and there is no such thing as one being better than the other. In my personal approach, I like to be creative, and I am not ever focused on just one thing that I sell. I can give you an example. In my business, one of my like core offers is my business foundational course. But I also have lots of mini offers. I'm going to tell you about one because it might be relevant to you, especially when it comes to social media. So for example, while I have a core offer, there are offers that also serve people in different areas. For you, it might be something different. Using the example of language teachers, you might have a digital course that covers one area of language that people can just learn by themselves. You might have your premium offer, so your one-to-one packages. You might have another offer with your group course. You might have run some workshops. But basically, this is the answer to the question, how you help. What are your offers, or what you actually do? What do you deliver to people to make money? And the final thing is, and a lot of people forget about that, we rely on social media way too much. I think it's been quite a well-known concept, but we are so much more aware now that we don't own social media. We don't own our followers. We don't own our LinkedIn contacts, and we don't own our Facebook connections. The only thing in a business world that you own is your email list. So people who, I'm not saying you cannot be successful using only social media. I personally think, and see numbers that support that view, is to have an email list of people that you email regularly with valuable content, but also informing them about your offers. So whether it is whenever you have, like, obviously lots of you here who have gathered around Edugo AI, you are interested in courses, right? In order to sell a course, you need to have an email list. You cannot just tell people on Instagram, hey, come and buy this. It takes a little bit more. And also there are just so many arguments for that. One of them being, I think recently, the guy who, I can't remember his name, but the guy who always announces changes on Instagram, Mosseri, I think that's his name. He said that the amount of experiments that they do with the algorithm on Instagram makes it really hard for people to predict what's the next thing that's going to happen. And you're kind of like the victim of it. And that's why people feel so bad. They create content, and then this content doesn't reach the people, even if they are your followers. And then people get disappointed that they don't have any sales. The only solution to that is having an email list. It's worth so much more. Another thing is that people tend not to pay attention on social media that much. So you need to figure out what's the way for your people, your potential students, to opt in. So to join your email list, whether it is, so a lot of people still teach the freebie approach, the lead magnet approach. I think it's slowly dying, actually. For me, the thing that surprisingly well works surprisingly well is just a page where I say, hey, sign up to my emails. I send really good emails every week. That's it. That's all I say. And people are like, oh, okay, I'm going to see what it is about. And it's as simple as that. So if you don't know how to do it, there are obviously lots of resources, free resources on YouTube, on everywhere. But creating a simple landing page with a form, with a name and an email where people can actually join that list so you can nurture them and then sell is key. And this is it. Oh, sorry, I was meant to delete that. What or how they can buy. So what they can buy, I covered that when I talked to you about what your offers are. But now, how can people buy from you? That's also another thing. Again, this is from my experience, so might not be relevant to all of you here, but there are so many teachers who still work in a very old-fashioned way. So they have lessons, then they invoice those people at the end of the month, and it's all like manual, really hard labor. Well, in my opinion, if you want to have a serious business, you need to have those processes automated. So if you want even to sell lessons, even that, you need to have solutions that allow people to just buy from you without you thinking about it. So in my business, it's all sorts of ways of clicking a button and people buying a mini course or a resource or a PDF from me. It could be also, sometimes it's for some courses that I sell, I don't want them to be always available. So sometimes I create things like wait lists for people, which is also another strategy. But thanks to a wait list, you also find out what the interest is and if people are interested in that offer. So figure out how people can buy from you. And the third thing, your content. So content is such a big, like content marketing in general is such a big topic. We could be talking about it here for ages. There are people talk about it in different terms, but basically it all comes down to the fact that content should be a journey towards buying. The journey starts when you hook somebody's attention. So the hook should kind of speak to that person. The hook should tell them, hey, I've got something that you need. In my personal case, I usually start all my content saying, hey, teacher, because it's so easy for teachers to self-identify. For you, you need to figure out what that is. So my husband always laughs and he says, oh my God, are you going to record your 10 videos with hey, teacher again? I'm going to die if I hear this again. I'm like, yeah, sorry. For you, it might be something else. You might not say like, hey, business person, because that's a bit artificial, but you have to figure out what that phrase or word or something that catches their attention is. So I may not always say, hey, teacher, but I may say things, hey, do you want to know how to find students for your classes? A person hears the keyword students and they get attracted to my content. What is that for you, right? So again, we're coming back to the niche. The next stage of your content is nurturing content. So basically it's a little bit deeper, or in my, like I have a mini course on that. And in my world, I call those first types of posts window shopper content, because you imagine that you go into a shopping center and you basically just look at the windows of different shops. You don't necessarily step into every shop, but you just window shop, right? But then, like for me, it would be, okay, there is a window of a shop with clothes. If the clothes are yellow, I definitely step in because I'm attracted to yellow. So you have to find out what that yellow or what that hook, what that thing attractive to your audience is, so that they step in, so that they follow you, so that they connect with you, or so that they opt in, actually. The next thing is the nurturing. So I call it this phase browsing. So the person steps into the shop and they look at what you've got. So they might check, okay, has this person got a blog? Has this person got a podcast? In my case, that's a podcast. Has this person got more things that I can explore? Or has this person got more pieces of content that will be useful for me? And finally, the next stage is your buyer content. So this, I would say, a lot of people go from hook to buy, and I think it's a bit of a mistake because people need time to warm up, to like be ready to invest. And I would say that statistically, this type of content will be the smallest part of your content, but still we need to be doing it regularly. Without selling, you don't have a business. So that's the journey: window shopping, browsing, and buying. Then again, another thing that is absolutely crucial in content is CTAs, calls to action. If you post from tomorrow, and I'm going to keep you accountable, if you post another post that doesn't have any call to action, it's a wasted opportunity. So next time you create something, remember that it should make somebody do something. A lot of people sulk here and they say, but people should know, it's just for education. It's like, no, those posts are not just for education. Most of content that businesses create are with a marketing purpose in mind, and they should be. So even if your CTA is let me know in the comments, or like this post, or share it. It has a marketing purpose in mind. Obviously, there could be more specific CTAs, such as sign up to my email list if you want to hear more about this, or listen to my latest podcast episode. That's what I do. I have one of my favorite CTAs on my Instagram posts is comment with the word XYZ so I can send you my new podcast episode. I find it really effective because it boosts the engagement of my posts, and also it creates an opportunity for me to have a conversation with this person. So I send them a link, but also we usually just exchange a few messages. So it's lovely. I get to know a new potential client maybe in the future, and it just creates that great interaction. Another thing is hooking people's attention is a really underestimated thing. People post really valuable things, but they forget that they should be relevant to their people, to their audience, to their niche. So again, the importance of having clear hooks or clear like kind of sentences that make it easy for people to identify with your content, or identify as a person who would find it valuable, is extremely, extremely important. Because otherwise, again, it's a wasted or a missed opportunity. And nurturing is like this big word, and I think I could run a whole course on how to nurture people. But remember that, and it's my personal approach to business, is that I love building connections. So to me, it's not followers, it's people that I speak to. So for me personally, nurturing usually happens on my Instagram stories, in my emails, in my client-only Facebook group. So it happens in spaces where I can have interaction with people. So even if I post on stories and it's just me speaking, I always have little polls or questions. I always encourage people to have a conversation with me, because I think that, I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but this know, like, trust factor is particularly important, especially if you're trying to build a personal brand. I think it's generally important in business, but it's particularly if you are a personal brand. And finally, selling. There are two problems with selling that people have. People either don't do it at all or overdo it. So there is no middle ground, right? And I think if you fully understand that content is that journey from somebody not knowing about you to finding out about you, opting in, being nurtured, and then buying something from you, then it becomes easy. Because if your only goal is, like, I always use this example, that there are so many teachers, so many people who just go onto social media every day and think, oh, I should probably post something. No, you probably shouldn't, if that's your thinking. Because again, it's all about the intention. Whatever you're posting should eventually, at some point, in one way or another, lead to your paid offers. And finally, some do's and don'ts. So remember, educating for the sake of educating is pointless. It's like, you can totally run a YouTube channel or a blog just because it's your passion or your hobby. Absolutely, go for it. But then it's a hobby, it's not a business. So instead, remember to educate, to build awareness, and invite people to opt in. So how can you easily turn your educational content into business effective content? You can add CTAs. You can invite people to join your email list. You can invite people to download something. You can invite people to message you or to listen to something else. So it should take them further in that journey to buying from you. This is, again, very specific to teachers. Teacher talk is really, really a really big trap. Lots of teachers, unfortunately, use a lot of terms like, do you want to practice your vocabulary? Like, learners don't talk about it like this. They don't need you to explain the things that you're trying to explain in the way you would be speaking to another teacher. So avoid teacher talk that is too complicated. To me, especially in the language world, even saying things like, oh, are you an B1 level learner? I don't think learners even know what this scale means. They're very often confused. I'm not saying everybody, but so many people don't. So what if you just said, hey, would you like to improve your language skills so you can be fluent? Fluent is a bit vague, but still better than saying B2 or C1 or whatever. So avoid teacher talk, but talk to people problems. So say things such as, do you struggle with presentations at work? Do you struggle with speaking to your partner's parents? Because maybe they are foreign, right? Whatever they are. So make sure that you're speaking to the problems rather than to use terms that we normally as teachers use. This might be obvious because we talked about it when we talked about positioning. Make sure that you're not speaking to everybody. Make sure that you don't say, hey, I help learners. People don't identify as learners. Whenever I learned any language or anything, I never identified myself as a learner. So I think it's much easier if you actually pick a specific group and even a specific person. So my personal trick is that this is particularly true if when I'm recording my podcast, I usually think of one of my clients, literally one of my clients. And then this is how I avoid the trap of just talking about something that is useless, because I know, okay, if client XYZ would want to hear about this, there are high chances that there will be somebody else who will also need that. So think of a very specific person rather than trying, oh, but maybe if I talk about something broader, then somebody else will also need it. No, it usually doesn't work like that. And people get easily discouraged if content is not speaking directly to them. So one example might be, do you struggle with your listening, right? It's so broad. Like, why would people think that they struggle with listening? I would actually ask, so do you find it hard to understand your native speaking English friends, for example? So it's the same question, but it's so much more specific to somebody's problem and situation. And again, just to reiterate, focusing on the number of followers will take you nowhere. It literally will take you nowhere because it doesn't mean anything. The most successful businesses that I know actually have quite a moderate following. They are just very effective at selling rather than growing their audiences to God knows how big numbers. So rather than doing that, focus on your ideal person or an ideal student, and make them take action, whether this action is opting into your list or getting interested in your paid offers or asking you a question, whatever, or even commenting on your post, that's action. Make sure that they do that. So rather than like posting to the void so that maybe people will find it useful, make sure that it's always making a specific person take action. And that was basically it. In terms of what I wanted to say. The final few words is, if that's okay, is I wanted to mention some goodies for you. So my current freebie is a webinar. You're more than welcome to download it for yourself. It's 10 ways to find students, or perfect students, actually, sorry, forgot the word, for your classes. It's available at olakowalska.com/10 ways, as you can see. And what I wanted to say is that I have a very relevant offer to today's training, which is 99 ideas for social media content for teachers. It's an ebook and a video training. It's normally for £21. But if you sign up for this freebie, there will be an option to buy it for £9 only. So it's a steal. And a lot of people have found it super useful because it helps them, it gives them a frame for creating content that speaks to specific people. It also takes away the pain of creating content. So if you're interested, make sure that you sign up to this freebie, and then on the next page, there will be an offer to buy this ebook for £9. Alternatively, if you don't want to buy anything from me, and that's absolutely fine, I would love for you to say hello on Instagram at Ola Coaches Teachers. I also have a podcast that goes out weekly on Mondays called Get Richer Teacher, available on every podcasting platform in the world. The previous episode was super popular. It was about how to break up with a student. So many people loved it and broke up with students. Don't know why. I think it's hard. And I released it on Valentine's Day, which is so funny. And the next podcast is about running discovery calls or language consultations with potential students. So it's going to be really useful if you want to convert basically people, even though I don't like the word, in calls with you, if you want them to actually become clients and how to approach those conversations. So you might want to listen to that. And then there is my email list. This is just a page where you can sign up, olakowalska.com/newsletter. So as I say, I just send newsletters when I've got something to say. I sometimes send links, sometimes invite people to my free webinars, and send lots of cool free resources as well as paid offers, and my email list gets priority access to that. And that is it. Thank you so much.
Great. Ola, if you would like, feel free to share also some of the links that you mentioned in the chat.
Yes, I will. Absolutely. Let me just stop sharing. Yeah.
No worries. And we're going to, if you have any questions, I think there are some questions coming in. We're going to a Q&A session in a couple of minutes. But before we go to the Q&A session, I asked a question at the beginning, and I did a quick poll, and I asked, what is the main current challenge that when it comes to your language business that you experience? So as I see, we kind of covered the main point, which is how to market and sell. We see that here it got the most votes. Marketing and selling like your language course. So actually your podcast, and I hopefully this session kind of like gave a little bit more understanding of how to navigate this and solve these problems. Whereas when it comes to actually creating a language course, if you are the first time who attend one of our webinars, you may know that we had to go. One of our mission is to help teachers create language courses. So we think that teachers have to be are at the core of language learning that is happening for the students, and our technology is to empower teachers. And I just want to quickly show how you can leverage our platform to create your language course, especially now that there's a lot of talk about the AI and how we are allowing teachers to use this technology. So I'm going to show you a beta platform that we are still not available to everyone. We have a waiting list for this. So a few teachers already are using it, not everyone. I'm just going really quickly to show a quick demo how it works to create content. So I'm just gonna create a very quick lesson. I'm going to show you how to, in this case, I'm going to use an article. So in this case, I teach English to Italian students. So I'm going to stick to the topic that you mentioned, Ola, so which was, I'm going to use make the system generate an article, and then with this article, generate some activities. So the topic will be Valentine's Day in Italy. So I ask the system to generate an article with this topic, and then some activities, which allow me to create this this lesson with this topic. And then obviously I can package this in a whole course, but let's see what the system does for me. Okay, so here is the article that has been generated really quickly. I can skim through it really fast to say, okay, what I like. If there's something that I didn't like, I can modify. Just press submit. And now the system is going to show me a list of the words from this article, which I can select or deselect that will be used to generate the activities. So here are the list. This is actually the whole article, and here are the keywords that I can delete or I can add according to, let's say, the level and the focus I want my students to put on. Okay, so let's say I pretend that those words are okay. Now the system will generate some activities with that article and the keywords that has extracted from the article, and will show me this lesson really quickly. And let's see, it'll take a few seconds usually. Here we are, and I'm just going to show you what is the outcome of this lesson from a student's perspective. So as a student, I can read the article, and then I can go to the activities. Here is like multiple choice. System will just tell me which one is correct, which one is wrong, true or false. I'm just quickly doing it without reading the article, obviously. Okay, so here was pretty lucky. Here I put the sentence in order and so on. So the idea is to give the teachers the tools to leverage this technology that like AI to create articles, and then from those articles create activities for their students. And this can actually be very helpful also in your social media. So once you create some social media posts, you can share this lesson as a call to action for your students that can interact with you in a deeper level. So you cannot deplatform your students from social media to your own platform. That is a lesson that I created really quickly. I can obviously actually share with you this lesson here in the chat, and you can actually access this lesson right away and have an idea of how it looks like from a student perspective. This lesson, you can put it in a story or in a bio. Obviously, I can go deeper. You can create a course from these lessons and so on and so forth. That's a quick overview. I don't want to go too much into depth on how this technology works, but if you're in case are interested to know more, we have a waiting list for teachers who want to use this technology. If you already sign up or if you want to sign up, please do. I shared the link in the chat. And that's it. Yeah, let's see if we have any question. I think someone asked so someone asked if you have LinkedIn, Ola. As you mentioned, I'm curious. I have actually one question. What was the decision that you decided to go from LinkedIn, or that LinkedIn was not for you, and switch to Instagram as a platform?
I didn't switch. I just never really fully went for LinkedIn. I don't believe in being on multiple platforms, especially as a person who gets easily distracted, and I don't like to work hard. So I have my one platform that has very clear way of people joining then my list. I also run ads every now and again. So I might, like, obviously my profile is there and it's quite like regularly updated, but I don't just pay that much attention to it. I'm also quite active in Facebook groups. So it's like people come from all sorts of different places, and I know a lot of my clients are on LinkedIn, so they would sometimes share things, and I'm like, when I go, I usually have like 50 notifications, but it's personal preference. And that's actually, if you ask me, it's something that I actually recommend, because I don't think there is such thing as a better platform for one person or the other. It is about what you can sustain. So if I couldn't sustain LinkedIn and Instagram even though I tried about 3 times last year, I just decided, why bother? Honestly, I've got other ways of, and I think it's also because you need to really be focused on things that actually bring money. And if you don't see that return on investment of your time and energy, then there is no point. But yeah, I think I know lots of people who have lots of success with LinkedIn. I've had my success with Instagram. So it just depends on what floats everybody's boat.
All right. All right. I think there is no more questions. So Ola, thank you very much for sharing a little bit of your expertise in this webinar. And I hope you guys find it useful, and have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you, everybody.
Ciao.
Thank you.